City had won the match, but there was another battle outside the field between two managers. Result aside, we're going to look today which manager had won that tactical battle. Well, this is how both teams are organized. City like to attack those half spaces there, and that's why Inter have two players here, while Inter wanted to attack those places for the fullbacks to attack it on the wings, while this place was reserved for Checo. So when City attack, you can see Stone is here, and he can even adventure much more forward here and go even to those spaces and dribble. But when they lose the ball, he come back and they become four in the back. Same thing for De Bruyne. De Bruyne, he can join the middle when City lose the ball. But once they attack, he can join Holland and they become a four at the front. Inter, on the other side, wanted to attack with the fullbacks on the wings, which is Di Marco and Dumfries, and they were pushing too high on the pitch. At the same time, Dzeko has a rule. He wanted to take all the high balls and long balls, so he was moving to that space and trying to chase those long balls because he can hold it and pass it to other players. Martinez, he was the fastest player on Inter in the attack-wise, so he was trying to move in the channels and try to lead the counter-attack. Barella, meanwhile, his rule was to go to the side. So sometimes when Inter attack, Barella go to the left side while Checo go to the other side. Now let us see how Inter managed to cut the lines between the City players. So those are the three target players which City want to pass, the attacking wise. And this is the three in the middle. What happened there is you have five players stopping that line. Then they put another three players in between those two blue lines. So the midfield and attacking players been totally isolated. Now that continue even not only on the half of Inter, even when the Inter closing down up. So you can see now Akanji has the ball. He want to pass, but he can't because you have surrounded by three players of Inter, cutting the line between them and those attacking City players. Those attacking City players even been marked by another three players from Inter. So they were like double down the marking and cutting the lines. So City found it very hard to pass through Inter. You can see here how this continue all the match. How Ederson have the ball, he tried to pass, Barella come to that space. That's the City defensive line. That's the City attacking in the midfield. That's where Ederson want to pass the ball. The problem is Inter put those wall in front of them and double that by putting another wall just beside them, which make it too risky for Ederson to make the pass, and he has then only the choices to pass to those three defensive players of City. And that's why City kept during the match passing the ball around those three players most of the time. And Inter was very successful on containing. So what happened is Ederson was forced sometimes to just send a long ball to those players, for example. That's the City line, and that's the City in the middle. Just trying to pass this wall of Inter Milan. But the problem is all the time, those players who have the long ball have surrounded by three players matching them, and they were challenging them, and they were stronger than those City players. So they take the ball back lots of time. And for sure, you have Joko as well, making another life difficult for Ederson because he was closing him down as well. So here there was three layers of Inter Milan defending and containing City. Let's see how Inter did the screening, trying to cut the lines and stop the building up from the back by Inter. Now Inter defender have the ball. Then suddenly has a screen, a wall from four players of City, closing the spaces for him and options to pass. And you have additional three players there in the middle. The problem with those three players, unfortunately, unlike Inter, they were not close to the players in the midfield. Plus, they were too central, which left those two spaces easy to explore. What Inter did during the match is sending long balls to those spaces for Dumfries and Di Marco and running the counter attack from the flanks. Inter suffocated City in the middle. De Bruyne has a ball. Suddenly, one defender of Inter come and try to close the gap because he need to form a wall of 3 players, which all the time City Inter done during the match. That's 4 lines of players, and that's the 3 midfielders creating a wall. Another 3 attackers in the right side creating another wall. So basically, the 3 in the right and 3 in the left, they cut all the options for De Bruyne to pass. The only option to him to pass is that yellow place. That's the only option left for De Bruyne. If you want to pass to Haaland, he's too close to make a long ball, and you have a wall in front of him, and he's marked by 4 players. And because of the 3 players of Inter in the mid, that area now is difficult to pass. And because of the 3 players on the right side, that area become as well in the defensive line difficult to pass. So you cannot pass to any of the players in the back. So the only option is those players in the yellow area. The problem is you have Inter player around them and they can anticipate that pass. So basically they made City fall into a trap. They give him one option to pass and they were ready to jump and take the ball. And that happened a lot during the match. And that's where most of the counter-attack of Inter happened. Let's see how Inter defend when City attacked. Now City have the ball on the right side. You have that attacking line in the box. And you have that defensive line of City sandwiching the Inter players. Controlling them basically. What Inter did in response is they have that big numbers still, a defensive line, the 5 players in the back, plus an additional line screening like a wall and stopping all the pass from coming to those City players in the box. That made the life of City players very hard. The only problem is that Inter midfield line, sometimes it was too close to the Inter defensive line, which resulted that space to appear. And Pep was smart because I think he noticed it. So what he did, he asked those 4 players to stay a bit further back. So every time the ball rebound or been cleared out outside the box, they will rush to it. And they tried to shot. And that's where they scored the goal. And that's where being punished. And the match was now over. Let us see counter press by City on application. Inter have the ball. He's surrounded by 4 players, creating a big wall. Another wall behind that. Then another wall after that. So the only option for that defender was to pass in that empty space, which Barella was occupying. So basically, that's the only option they have. Inter transitioned to attack once they have that long ball. You can see here the player who has in the ball now. You can see there's a line which is running. And those players gonna run into the channels. And you can see the City players line. Then you have 2 players as well ready to make the run. So they have almost now 4 players challenging another 4 players of City. Inter have lots of chances on those occasions. We like 4 against 4, 5 against 5. And they all be wasted because the quality of the final pass was horrible. That's where City, I think, won the match. Because the quality of City in the final third were amazing. While the quality of Inter in the final third was just horrible. Just average. And it shows because there was no player maker in the team of Inter. They were mostly hard-working players or play with a physical ability. Except Martinez, who was very wasteful. So unfortunately, all those great positions, which tactically Simeone make it happen, it was spoiled by the lack of quality of Inter players. Inter, when they were very close, they were committing players on the box. Like I can see there are almost 5 players there. And Di Marco was sending lots of good crosses during the match. The fullbacks were all the time like one-to-one situation, and they were comfortable in sending the crosses. Except Dumfries, the quality was not there. So you see DiMarco, and you can see the 5 players there, and you can see City players surrounding them. The positioning and the compactness of City make it very difficult for Inter to make those crosses works. Now City as well did exactly as Inter did. They cut the lines between Inter lines. So you can see the goalkeeper has a ball, and De Bruyne joined there and created a big wall of 4 players there. While Stone here was rushed to the right side because Akanji was closer to the center. And you can see the 4 line then being formed because they need to defend. Then that line of Inter being difficult to pass to because they have that wall of City in front of the goalkeeper. Plus you have 2 City players who can move around and they can close down those 2 players, and plus they can take that ball from if it's being sent to the middle. And that's where the magic of Simeone happened. He played Checo. I thought Simeone at the start make a wrong decision, playing Checo instead of Lukaku, who is faster than him, and I think we could have harmed City. But looking at the match again, Checo won lots of those high balls. He saved Inter a lot. And tactically, I think Simeone was right by playing Checo there. So all the time, when the goalkeeper has no option, he can send long ball. And that's why Simeone knew City going to do that. That's why he played Checo, just to give the goalkeeper an option. Typical of Inter counter-attacking. And just look to those 2 wing backs, DiMarco and Dumfries, how high they are, how they're playing in the center. And 5 players against 4. Unfortunately, they didn't take any advantage of it. The ball is with Grealish, and look the circle of the zone being filled equally, organized, like it's been drilled. It makes it too hard for the City player to pass through them, and that's why City kept passing the ball between that line. And you can see it later on in the heat map, how the ball was all the time passing there from City because of that block in the middle by Inter. Now once Inter down, they changed the formation, and even the attacking wise, the goalkeeper, you can see it here where he's passing the ball, and they pushed much more players forward. You can see City still kind of doing the line, but they are doing it for 3 instead of 4. The other 3 line here, and you have 4 in the back there. But look how the Inter player are attacking. Now have the ball. You can see the 3 line of attacking players, the 3 line in the middle, and the 4 line of the defender of City. But look how the players are spread of Inter, trying to attack and committing players forward. You can see here now Inter how many players are committing, how they surrounding City players, pushing them to their own half. 4 players ready to attack. And City, they were compact, but the problem is they being pushed to that area. Then Inter, when they couldn't have a right pass, they start to send crosses, and they created lots of chances. One of them, I think, hit the post, and one of them from Lukaku, it been missed. So they created of chances, and I'm sure if the match was continued like another 10 minutes, I think they could have scored a goal. But credit to Simeone, because once he went down, he found the right system, and he was brave, and actually it worked. Now in terms of shooting, you can see here, Inter have more shots than City, 14-7, and you can see the number in blue for Inter compared to City. Now even in terms of how dangerous the chances were, you can see straight away Inter have 21% in the 6 yard, while City have none. That was how much close Inter is. And remember, Inter have more shots, so City percentage are for less shot. That's why they have exaggerated number 71, because their shots is way less. And in terms of positioning, look to De Bruyne how much is forward. That's the average positioning for each player in the pitch. And look for DiMarco, the fullbacks of Inter, and Dumfries, how high they are. Look to Checo, how he's in the middle trying to take all those long balls. Look to City, how they are close and compact, but a bit spread to the wings. while the shape of Inter is much more defensive and much more
in
centered.
terms of XG. You can see Manchester City here scored 0.9, but Inter scored 1.8. That's the amount of quality of chances they created. Same thing in shoots. 7 City, double again, 14 for Inter. And you can see in the map how many circles they have Inter comparison to Manchester City. In reality, Manchester City in their goal they scored in the red is very tiny, so it was not a big chance. They have only 2 big circles. That means they only had 2 chances in comparison to 20 circles for Inter. So overall, I think Inzaghi won the XG battle. He created better chances. They were closer to win, to be honest. What failed them is the quality of players. The heat map clearly shows that City couldn't find their way. That's why they keep on passing ball around. Looked where the concentration of the player positioning was. They couldn't crack them, so they have to pass the ball around, left and right, to the defense, then come back. Well, you can see in the other side how Inter was much more defensive, and you can see the gap in the middle because they ignored the middle. City tried to compact the middle by adding stone to it. So what Inter did is the inverse. You say, you know what? We're gonna send long balls above that location. We're gonna send long balls to the side and the flanks for the fullbacks. So basically, they eliminated the strength of City, and that shows clearly in the heat map. Now we reach the end of the match, and you can see the impact on both manager face because it was a tough and a rough match. Now let us see the plus and minus for each manager during the match to have a score for each one in the end. Pep, the sense of organization, attacking wise and even defensively, was perfect. How he cut the lines between Inter was amazing, and he done it to perfection. The balance by Stone moving to the mid and then coming back, it was perfect. But he made mistakes. And the result was he lost the XG, and that's not acceptable. Especially for the type of players he have, how they are more better quality than Inter players. And plus, the lineup mistake, I think Walker playing instead of Akanji, that was a big mistake. And he almost gone to the ground because of that mistake. There was that moment, which getting a seed in the end. And plus, I think he didn't react when he see Inter lineup and how they are played. He kept playing the same way. And I think he got a bit lucky with the goal. Otherwise, he could have struggled during the match. So overall, I will give Pep a 7 out of 10. Now, let us go to Simeone. First of all, organization, defensive, attacking wise, they were perfect. At least defensively, it was perfect. Then how he cut City lines were perfect as well. The defensive balance was as well great because now Pirot was moving. Another one of the mid defenders were joining the mid when they wanted, like Stone did. So the balance was perfect. He won the XG while playing worse players. Remember, you have Dzeko was rejected by City since 5-6 years. Damian rejected by United. The team quality is way less than City. So to able to win the XG is amazing. And he need to be applauded on that. Meanwhile, I think he make a mistake, which is I think he needed to have much more creative players or attacking players there. Because they have lots of chances to do the counter-attack and they missed it because of that lack of quality, a lack of vision. They were much more industrial than creative, and that's why they wasted their chances. Otherwise, they could have easily beaten City, I think.
And I think that mistake caused them to lose the match, basically. So for Inzaghi, I will give him
a 9, because he almost executed the perfect plan. What he let him down is the quality of the players.
Listen, I'm not saying Pep is worse than Inzaghi as a manager. No. Pep Guardiola is one of the best managers I've seen. The mastermind, the system he put, how he changed it, class. But we are judging the manager based on what they have and how much they get out of them and who win the battle there. It's clear they have better XG. It's clear they control City with less players. So unlike many, unfortunately, people who talk about the tactical match of this match, they praise Pep at the expense of Inzaghi. I think someone need to give Inzaghi a credit because he really beat Pep Guardiola in this match. And not beat him only by the points, but actually he knocked him down in one moment there. Actually, twice I think he was on the down of the floor. So I think, in my opinion, we have a clear winner here. And he surprised me because I didn't rate Inzaghi a lot. But the way he managed his team is perfect. Thanks again for listening. And if you like the video, please like and subscribe. And hopefully next season we're gonna come with more match analysis. But definitely we have other plans during the summer with news and some quiz and other documentaries. So keep tuning. Take care.